So if you're someone that feels like they're lacking when it comes to managing your finances, there's a reason for that. Throughout our childhood, we've been programmed to act a certain way when it comes to dealing with money. Common sense would tell you that as we develop as adults, we should be learning things like taxes, budgeting, investing, even starting a business if we wanted to. But for some reason, many of these things were left out. And this lack of financial education can hurt you long term if you don't figure it out in time. That's why in this video, I'm going to share you some of the most important money lessons that society has failed to teach you and how you can break free from this programming. So the first lesson is understanding money and how it works. So if you look at self-made billionaires like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, right? They all have something in common, right? They understand that wealth, when it comes to building wealth, it isn't about trading your time in for a paycheck, right? And this type of stuff goes against everything we've been taught, right? We've been taught to go to work, clock in, do a couple of hours, and we get paid. And we understand that the more hours we put in, the more money you make. So if you go about making money this way, it's going to take a long time. So for example, if you're someone that makes $20 an hour and works 40 hours a week, it's going to take you 25 years to earn $1 million. And that doesn't even factor in things like taxes or normal expenses or inflation, right? So the thing about millionaires and billionaires, they understand that they have a totally different mindset when it comes to making money. They don't believe in just trading in their time for a paycheck, right? They understand that there's an equation when it comes to building wealth, and this stuff is not taught in our schools or even at home, right? Your parents don't even know this, right? They've been programmed with the same things that we've all been programmed. So it's important to understand that in order to build wealth, you need to do a number of things like leverage assets, make smart investments, and build systems that's going to allow you to make money even while you sleep, right? And it's important to understand that, and in order to break away from these traditional systems, these are things that you need to know, right? So you have to get out the mindset of having to trading your time for money, because this is an old way of thinking. If you're someone that's going to build wealth, that you need to understand that active income alone is not going to get you into where you want financially. You have to figure out a way how to create that passive income, and understanding that making sure that you're multiplying the income that you do have is one of the best ways to build wealth long term. So the second lesson is when to invest, right? I think for a lot of people, when you talk about investing in the stock market, it's a very scary thing, right? They think it's rigged, and they think it's only designed for the wealthy people. And I understand that it's a scary thing to do, right? And because in your lifetime, most of us we're gonna witness multiple economic downturns, and for a lot of people this can be a scary moment. You losing all your money is something that brings a lot of fear in a lot of people. But for those that understand money, these are the best times to build wealth, right? While regular people are scared and they're saving, wealthy people are out here deploying their money strategically and purchasing these assets. And when the market bounces back, and it will bounce back, the wealthy become even wealthier, while others are struggling living paycheck to paycheck. Therefore, you have to develop good money habits. And the way you do this is by educating yourself on investments, taking informed risk, and most importantly, being consistent, right? Making sure that you're consistently investing, consistently educating yourself, understanding how this works. Because you want to make sure that if you're going to develop wealth long term over time, you want to be consistent in your investing. So and when you do this, you'll see that how much better life will be for you in the future. So the next lesson is learning how to leverage debt, right? Now, while most people see debt as a burden, wealthy people see it as a way to make more money. And the mindsets are totally different, right? And understandably so, right? If you're a regular person that doesn't have a lot of money, debt can be a scary thing, especially when you see out there in the news, you see all these people struggling with debt. It can be a scary thing to get involved with, and it's something that you want to stay away from. But that mindset is what's, for a lot of people is keeping you from actually developing and building wealth long term, because the wealthy people don't see debt as something scary, right? They see it as a tool to make more money. For example, when you see wealthy people, extremely wealthy people buying homes, right? And they buy these multi-million-dollar homes, right? For a lot of them, you got people like Jay-Z, Mark Zuckerberg, who else? You got Elon Musk, right? What they do is that they'll get a mortgage out for these properties. So let's say one of these wealthy people are gonna purchase a $50 million property, right? What they'll do is they'll put down $5 million cash, and they'll finance the rest, right? The $45 million, they'll get a loan for that $45 45 million. So you're probably thinking like, I mean, why would you get a loan? Why don't you just purchase the whole thing out? You got the cash. And the thing is, while regular people are using debt, which typically comes in the form of like credit cards or personal loans, they'll use this to purchase things that don't make money, like TVs and vacations. And wealthy people, what they do is they'll leverage this debt to acquire assets that's going to appreciate over time, right? Like real estate and business ventures. And back to that example, instead of like having to take the whole $50 million to put down a house, like I said, they'll put 5 down and then they'll finance the 45 million, and they'll get like a 1% loan on that. And what they'll do with the $45 million that they now have, they'll put that in other assets that's going to generate more revenue over time. So basically, borrowing money to purchase their homes allows them to purchase assets that's going to generate higher returns, right? And that's important. And that's why it's important to understand how to also leverage debt to your advantage, because you're going to make a lot more money. Instead of putting all that money into that property, you can take that $45 million, put that into some other income generating asset, and that's gonna net you a higher return long term. So this is important to understand. Now the next lesson is social status, right? Now we've all heard the term keeping up with the Joneses, right? Like you look at what your neighbor has, and this pressures you to either match them or one up them, right? And not only does this pressure come from your neighbors, but it comes from friends, society, celebrities, social media, etc. There's so many things that pressure you into wanting to increase your lifestyle just so you can impress people that really don't matter, right? And with the digital age, it's increased this pressure exponentially, right? Where people's self-worth are based on like how many likes they got or how many comments, right? And this can drive a lot of people's financial decisions, right? And this is because what? We all want to fit in society, right? We all want to be accepted in society, but this can lead to like a lot of problems when it comes to making financial decisions. So this is where a lot of us get in trouble, and that's why it's important to fight against these temptations, right? Especially since a lot of this is not taught to us, right? Like we need to make sure that we're more educated and more disciplined. But if a lot of social media and the digital age is driving our financial decisions, and being one to keep up with people that really don't matter to how we deal with finances, then it's gonna lead us to a lot of problems, right? So we have to shift our mindset from material things to try and develop financial stability, right? Knowing that our happiness comes from the experiences that we share with people that we do care about, and not the things that we have, right? So the best way to do this is by prioritizing long-term successes rather than short-term emotions when it comes to money. So I think once we get I think if you can get a better handle of that, then you'll see how you manage money better on in the future. So the next lesson is tax laws, right? Now there are so many ways to reduce your tax liability legally, right? Just that many people just don't know it, right? And it's understandable because taxes can be complicated and scary and just confusing, so people just choose not to deal with it. And not only that, but many people think that only the rich can benefit from tax laws and legal loopholes. But obviously that's not true, right? Like if you're someone that works a 9-to-5 job, or even if you don't, like there's retirement accounts that you can use to help reduce your tax liability, right? And like I said, I'm not no lawyer, and like I said, I know how complicated taxes can be, but it's important to understand these things, understand the basics, so that understanding these basics can save you thousands of dollars long term. And this is why, and this is money that can be put towards like building out your financial future. So it's important to understand these things because obviously they can be so beneficial to helping you build wealth long term. So the final lesson is become a producer, right? Like in this world of money, like you're either a producer or a consumer, right? And for those that produce, money tends to flow inwards, and for those that consume, money flows outwards. And one thing I've noticed, especially in this personal finance space, like you have a lot of people talking about the consumption part of finance, right? Things like reducing expenses or spending within your means. And I understand why, right? That makes sense because like it's easy to tell someone like, hey, you want to make sure that you're not living paycheck to paycheck, or you want to be able to manage your money better. You can just cut back on spending, right? Just make sure you cut back, and then you'll be able to have more money. And the one thing I've noticed, especially in the personal finance space, is that people tend to focus on the consumption part of personal finance, right? Like, reducing expenses or, spending within your means. And that makes sense because it's easy to tell a person to cut back rather than to produce more, right? Like if you're someone that's living paycheck to paycheck, or you're someone like that doesn't understand why they don't have money at the end of the month, I can just say you probably just need to cut back on your spending, right? It's easier instead of saying like maybe you need to produce more, make more money. So a lot of people focus on the consumption part, but let's be honest. Like if you look at wealthy people, they say someone like Dave Ramsey, right? he's not a multi-millionaire because he spends less, right? Or he's cutting back. He's been able to produce, right? He's producing information that's helping people that are consuming too much, right? He produces information for people that tend to consume too much, and this is how he's making his money. And for a lot of people, anyone that you see that's wealthy, they're out there producing, right? They're also consuming, but they're producing more than they consume. So I think for a lot of people, it's important to understand that to have people focus more on being producers rather than consumers, and you'll see a lot of people be better financially. So you're probably thinking like, all right, so how do I produce more, right? You want to make sure you're creating value in anything you do, right? Leverage your skills, like any skills that you have, you can leverage those skills into making more money. Create solutions, right? There's a lot of problems that people are having, and if you can provide a solution for people, this is a great way to make money as well. So you want to always have that mindset that you want to be a person that's producing, adding value to someone, helping people out, rather than, all right, let me consume, because the more you consume, the less you're going to have, right? You want to make sure you're a producer and you're actually adding value, because that's the way to build wealth over time, or actually make more money, right? Instead of like cutting back everything, and it's okay to cut back, but you want to make sure that you're focused on producing and adding value. So that's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully you found this information helpful. If you got any comments or questions, make sure to leave it down below. Hit the like button, share, and if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe. All right, so you guys take care and have a good one. Later.